Okay. Well, I have some doubts here and well questions here and here
Okay, let's start. Whichever one you want to start with, we can go through.
from the beginning because, like I said, I need to be correct everything.
Okay. So let me do this. Let me on just my computer, so we don't have to go back and forth. Let me pull up the work breakdown structure. Probably is the best thing to do.
Okay.
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah. Let's me.
So under slab MAP,
Okay, so under slab MEP, you should have there 301, 315, and 006. Correct.
three. Oh, okay, 301,
Yeah. So
30.
well, so you have it up there. Yeah. Well, no. Area for that is zero. Area is 02. No, that's sub area. Area.
Oh yeah, sorry, 0 and here is 2.
No. Go to the left to area. Yeah, there you go. So there,
Yeah.
yeah, that'll be that area is 02. Sub area for the lower level is 00.
Yes.
And then you have the correct cost codes there. You
Okay.
have uh yeah, 315, 006, 301.
Because I use this, right?
Yep, you're using Dex. So if you see there, look, first is the area code. So on the all the way to the left, go to your left there.
Um,
Yeah. No. This your work breakdown structure.
Here.
So yeah, so look at the top columns up there again. No,
This.
the work
Ah, okay.
breakdown
Sorry,
structure.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Let me share my screen and I'll go over this one with you again. Maybe that'll be better.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me share. Okay. Let me get rid of this. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, so how we begin this is first is the area code there, right?
Yeah.
So doesn't signify really anything geographical or in the building. It's just a way for us to define um, the activity. Is basically to define the activity. So you could see here at the top where this has really nothing to do with anything in the building. So what we did was, in fact, uh, yeah. So what they did here was they said, hey, and you can see it shares it with 10 power right there, but we're 00 as far as the area code goes. So we're going to define this area of work. And like I said, doesn't have to signify anything in the building. It could be anything. Just as a placeholder, we're 00. Then, because that area could encompass a lot of activity, you give it a subcode. So the overall code is area code 00. In this case up here, the subcode is 00. These numbers here, they're just making these, they could just make these up as long as it means something to them and how they broke down this work breakdown structure. Then when we go to the cost code, these cost codes are defined. We put out a list of cost codes because this is where it breaks down the actual task. So if, for instance, in our budget, we want to have we want to set aside a certain amount of hours for material handling, right?
Right.
So we might say, hey, and basically it is for this whole job, somebody who's going to be handling material on a 3-year project might be, uh, this is arbitrary, 2,000 hours of material handling. So when the reason we'll cost code that is, one, it separates the activity from anything else. So we assigned it basically an address. That's where it's going to live in 025. So whoever's doing the material handling, when they turn their time in, because our job, the budget is used for a couple of things. One, it tells us the investment we're going to have in the job, the overall budget. So when you looked at that budget sheet, that summary basically breaks down the whole job, and it tells us the investment of money we're theoretically going to have to invest in the job between material, equipment, subcontractors, and labor. What,
Right.
what it what But then when we start to define the labor, this person doing the material handling, when he turns his time in, it's going to be area code 00, subcode 00, cost code 025. So in order to track the progress of the job and to make sure that we're staying within our labor hours, then um, we will know. We could run a report at any given time, pick this cost code with this area and subcode, and see exactly how many hours he's used against how many hours we had allotted for that cost code.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'll take it a step further. If we're doing the decks that we were just talking about, so my deck work begins, all the decks, all 13 floors of deck is under area code 02, because 02 as an area code covers all the decks in the job. So it's very broad. So then when we want to break it out per floor, starting at the lower level, that's where we introduce the subcode. And the subcode starts at 00, meaning the basement. And then 01 will be the first floor, 02 all the way up to 13, right? So that's
Right.
why that was broken out in that budget on the tabs at the bottom, which I'll show you. Hold on. Let's see where we're at. No, that's not it. Here it is. There we go. So you can see here that it always starts down here. You can see this tab at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
2.00.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see it.
So that represents, so if you look up here, it says, what's that area code? Well, decks fall under 02. And then what's the sub area code? Well, it's 00 because it's in the basement.
Yes.
So when I'm doing that work in the basement for that deck, I'm basically saying it's going to take me 1,000 hours to complete this work right here. So it's very important because a couple things. One is the deck is the lowest level in the project. It's basically going to be, besides the temp power, it's probably one of the first tasks or areas that we will be working on because it's the it's in the basically foundation of the building. So um, when anybody works on that lower level deck, they're going to report their time in this cost code right here. So you can see I have a total of 1,000 hours to complete that task. Well, tasks actually. So you see the first step is Trimble. Trimble is our layout tool. So we have 48 hours. So whoever's going to do Trimble on that job, when they lay out, that means measuring where everything needs to go. He's got 48 hours to complete that work. So if we're tracking his time, he'll have to report his time to cost code 301, right?
Okay, right.
So let's just say we start the job and we're doing the deck. I want to track his labor. We do it automatically actually, and we're trying to make sure that he's not going to go over the 48 hours. If he does, we know, we'll see how the overage that he went over on that task or under. It might only take him 32 hours. On the other hand, it might take him 120 because we're pulling this off the estimate, and that's basically as far as labor goes, it's an educated guess more or less. So the main thing comes in when you start to really have the hours. So we're saying here, PVC, that's our conduit, and that's what we're going to be putting in the deck right there. We have 920 hours. So you can see all these hours we want to monitor because the goal is not to go over these hours. So in the first week, let's say of doing this work, however long they allowed for us to do this work, we have to fit all these hours into that man loading schedule to complete this. So in the schedule, if it said you've got 10 days um, to do this work, right? Um, then if we put you could do it a couple ways. We could divide 10 into 1,000 and go, hey, we've got 100 hours a day, right? Or however, so then we decide how many men we're going to be putting on that job. So I'll give you, for instance, if it was a 3-man job, that's 24 hours a day. And if it's 10 days, they're going to use up 240 hours, right?
Right.
So that would be perfect here because we would be way under the 920 hours, right?
Right.
But if we put 10 guys on it a day, that's 80 hours times 10, we'd be 800 hours. We'd still be okay. Now, if we put 20 guys on it and we're at 160 hours a day, 10 days, we'd be 1,600 hours. We'd blow this. So that costs us money when we go over the allowable hours. Make sense?
Yeah.
So we track every one of these tabs and every one of these cost codes to make sure that we stay within our budget because that's the main goal. That's what a project manager does. He basically he does a couple things. He mitigates the risk on the job and he manages the budget to make sure that we're working within our budget. And then there's some other things that we do. So remember how most of these floors all look the same, right?
Yes.
Going through the building. So look what will happen if we go to the first floor, because that's bigger than the basement, right? So we should have more hours down here to do this. Let's just say we did the first floor and we went over on these hours to 2,000 hours, right? But every floor seems similar. We have to find out why we went over on hours, because if we don't, every floor is going to be the same, and we're going to lose 500 hours per floor if we went over to 2,000 hours. That makes sense?
Yes.
So it's a way that, one, we monitor, and then we can go into they call it the critical path, to fix any overages that we might encounter. So labor is the one thing that we really monitor, because you can see here material subcontracts. DG&E means direct job expense. We just total up all our material in cost codes, different cost codes. So this is usually pretty fixed. We know how much material we're going to use. We know our subcontracts. We know our direct job expense. This is rented equipment. This is our legal stuff, superintendent's wages, whatever it is. We typically fall within this. Um, it's the labor that's the unknown. We never know what's going to happen in our labor. So you can see here, we try to stay within all these numbers. So in the end, when all this dollar value is added up, we stay within this $13 million of labor. That way, it'll reflect on the money you're going to make on the job. So this is basically how we manage a construction project, is through this budget. So it goes from work. So the elements are, we start with the work breakdown structure. This is developed from our construction team of all the areas. Hold on, Jorge, I got to take one call. Hold on one sec.
No worry.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay, so first, and this can be any way they want to break down the job. So if I took um, three different construction teams or three different construction supervisors, and I asked them to put together this work breakdown structure, I guarantee you would get it three different ways. It depends on how they see the how they see building the job out,
Yeah, I can understand that.
right? Makes sense?
Yes.
So um so looking let's see the best, let's see, power lighting feeders. So basically, let's just take it one at a time. Temp power, it's a little bit different. So we'll start with the basic construction here. On the side of the job, um, there's going to be these tasks right here, because basically, I even have it brought up. Hold on one sec. Let's see. And we just go through the stuff again. I'll show you. So that site work would be all this areas out here, all the landscaping. They're not showing the lights here, but there's lights, tree lights, everything else. And then, like I showed you before, if we're looking at the site flat, you would have these are outlets. So these would be your receptacles right here. And they would look something like this. Show you. Let's see. So it'd be something like this. Give me 1 second. I'll show you. My computer's slow today. I'm not sure why. Um, yeah, so it could be something like this. Your outdoor plug would be maybe in a configuration like this. This has a USB port on the side, but it's a weatherproof cover.
Oh, I
Something
see.
that's something of that nature right there. Um, that wasn't good. More or less, actually something probably along this line right here. Cover that protects the plug. So uh, that's it. Basically this. But to get all this stuff hooked up right here, to get all this, you're going to be putting pipe underground. So when we go back to the work breakdown structure, you can see here excavation and backfill. That means I'm digging whichever means I use, backhoe or a excavator, ditch witch, whatever it is. So who is ever working on that will report their time under 01, 00, 100 if he's doing digging. Then we put these concrete pull boxes um, in the ground because we got to make splices and things like that and run conduit in and out. So probably seen these. They look something like this with a cover. And then, well, that's an old nasty one, but you'd see something like that, like this. You've seen these, right?
Yes.
But that doesn't make it large there. Yeah, so this would be it right here. I don't know. It's not coming up. It'd be something like, and there's conduits coming up in this. There's a deeper box below. We do all our splicing in there and different things of that nature. PVC, that's the conduit we use. That's the plastic pipe. So typically we don't use that in the building unless it's in the concrete. Um, we use steel pipe in the building, but this would be the PVC. So if I'm running a circuit, basically, that's not right. That make a square. If I was running the underground, that should be a curved line, but we would be running the underground like this. And then these are the circuit numbers we'd use. So this pipe would all be going underground there.
Okay.
However, whatever, and missing obstacles, however it is to loop, all this together here like that, something like that. So that's all the digging we would be doing right there. Then the lighting, these are going to be pole lights. So I'll show you right now. This is on another job, but it'd be something like this. There you go. And that's on a pole. So these guys would be going pole light, 18 feet above, probably walkway there. And then along here, pole lights. Then you get to these. well lights typically. And then when you want to know what they are, you're like, what the heck is an S1? Oh, and this is the thing that determines what the fixture is typically. This would be circuit number. That would be the number you'd reference on the schedule. So
Yes.
you go to the luminaire schedule and you go, what's S1? So we go up here. Oh, S1 is a bollard. And then where was the pole light? I don't know if that's the second. Oh, that is. Huh. It's weird. Okay, so there's your S15A, except they're calling this 23 feet. And on this, oh, 4 inch diameter. Okay, so this will be that outside light. It gets several of these lights on a pole right here.
Okay.
S15A. So that's your schedules. Anyway, so that's how we read the drawings. So when we're going back to doing the task, that's the conduit. That'd be the wire. If there was any feeder wires for larger, uh, if there was any panels outdoors, that's what we would consider our feeder. So branch wire is the branch, which would be the lights, lighting, plugs. And the feeder wire is typically what we would use to feed panels and more on the well, basically the panels, any switchboards, anything like that. And then when we go to install the lights, we'd use cost code 620, site light fixtures and poles. So when that guy would be putting those lights in, he'd be using cost code 620. Devices and trim would probably be more relative to those plugs and everything else I showed you, um, as devices. So devices are separate from the lights, and then we would track his time on that cost code. So like I said, each construction manager would probably create a different work breakdown structure. This is just how this construction team broke this out to figure this is the best way they want to track this job here. So going back, when we go to units again, or any of these, all our units fall under area code 06. The sub area though, because the units don't start until level 2, and they go all the way up to the 12th story. So you'll see that in this case, when we go back to the budget, um, you're going to see,
Labor 6.02.
yeah, so that means what they're going to do there is, because there is no 00 for units, there's no units until the second floor.
Right.
So he put it right here, area code 06, sub area 02. He's using that just to designate the second floor units.
Right.
And then these are the cost codes of the tasks that will take to complete the electrical in those units. So he's
Right.
got in-wall conduit, ceiling conduit, any EMT running in and out of the units. That's just basically conduit coming in and out. Building fixtures, that's the light fixtures. Devices and termination, that's typically all your plugs and data outlets on the wall. Here's your cable pulls. Um, he should this is basically terminations for devices. Then here's your devices and trim, testing and checkout. Each room gets a panel board. You've got your equipment connections. There's heaters and air conditioner, whatever else is in the unit. And this is the guy that fire stops the conduits going through walls. So basically, uh, see if I got a shot here. Okay. So sometimes we hire out a fire stopping person, or sometimes we do it ourselves. But this would be a good picture right here. So if you can see that red stuff right there,
Yeah, that's the fire stopping.
yeah. So this is a block wall right here. Typically, they would make holes in these walls for our conduit, and you make the hole bigger than your conduit is, and then you have to fill this in with this fireproofing material. So if this caught on fire right here, this part of the building caught on fire, the fire wouldn't spread through those holes into the next room there,
Okay.
right? So you can even see this is a drain pipe, nothing to do with electrical, but they had to caulk that too. It doesn't matter if it's electrical or what. Any penetration typically has to be fireproofed. This isn't. You can see right here, this stuff
I
isn't,
can see.
right? So
And
they,
why it isn't? Because
oh,
they
they're just
don't.
showing that, yeah, they're just showing it that this isn't, don't do this.
Okay, yeah.
They should have been fire stopped there. So that would look something different there. Let's see if, it's a caulking gun here. You can see he's sealing this in.
Yes.
Um, this is another type. When you have data, that's a conduit sleeve. That just means that I put a piece of pipe between the wall just to run my cable through it, but then that pipe has to have fireproofing around it. And then there's different ways to do this, but the inside of this pipe has to be fireproof. Usually we use something like this right here that's pre-made to do that. Or this, these are called fire pillows when we run a cable tray through there. Or this, fire stopping here, fire stop, fire stop. It's just a means to stop fire from spreading. This is basically how you do it. If you're using the tube gun, squeeze the caulking in there. Um, and then there's these prefab type to do it if you don't want to use the caulking. So as long as it's approved and listed for it, um, then that's the way we do it. So it's got to be an approved method. That's a ready sleeve. That's probably pre-manufactured. You see through here. That's a pre-manufactured putty disc. You could use that type. Here's a pre-made sleeve. You would slip this into the wall prior to them putting the wall in. And there's sometimes these packets. So it might not look like there's any fireproofing around this whatsoever inside, but if this gets hot with the fire, this thing explodes and seals that when there's a fire. So
Okay.
why do we do that? Because a lot of times if you're adding and taking away cables, you can you can still keep putting cables in and out of this where you couldn't when it's already sealed.
Oh,
So that's
I
their
see.
right. So that's their way of um, doing
It's
that.
expensive, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. This is another one right here. This is typically the ones we typically use called Easy Path. So this will stay like this is. Um, you can always pull cable in and out. So if you're adding whatever it is, but when a fire hits this guy, it has foam or whatever inside of it, and it'll expand and seal that hole. So
Okay.
this is very popular. We use this for conduit and well, mostly just this Easy Pass stuff here. I don't know if it shows it after it. Yeah, so as a floor kit, that would be for a wall. And then, like I said, I think this is the foam here that expands if there's a fire. So, oop. So when we do a unit, since the units are basically all the same, except for some have more bedrooms than the other, this construction team said these are the tasks by Costco that we will be doing in that room to complete it. All this here. PV, that's the photovoltaic on the roof. They're talking about racking, which would be the first, putting in all this the PV stands. So it'd be something like be probably there's an existing could be something like that, but on a bigger scale because it's over the whole roof. Let's see. Yeah, so this would be that's actually flat. You're gonna this our roof would be something like this, but on those framing structures that I showed you on that 3D drawing. So that would be the racking of the roof. It'd be something like this, except we're not putting it directly on the roof. There's going to be racking that we mount it to. It's- yeah, most of this is residential. But anyway, it'd be something like the racking here with the roofs with the at an angle. So in the end,
The PV, what stands for?
photovoltaic, basically
Okay,
solar. That's just a
okay, okay,
fancy
okay,
name for solar. So you can see up here, that's basically the rack. And there's your panels right there. There's your panels there. So we went to they're going to be supplying this rack, this framework for us, and then we put those racks on top of this.
okay.
Right. So this is just giving you a general idea that to do that. So if I was to break down that work, you're going to be putting in those racks first. Um, Down here is the modules, the actual PV modules, the actual solar panels. That's your wiring for all of them. We have to do grounding. Uh, this job has lightning protection on it. So when we have that, plus with all this racking, we're going to be grounding all the metal on that roof. Then
Yeah.
here is the modules and the combiner box is how the wiring comes together uh, into these boxes. So it's just another task of putting this together. So that's why these Costco's get broken down. So the basics is again, the area just defines whatever you want to define. However you when you break down your work breakdown, it just breaks down into areas. So and it's just a placeholder. So in this case, area 04 means nothing, but we assign it to the electrical room. So now it means something. So we're saying since there's electrical rooms on all 12 floors, the area doesn't really designate anything geographically or potentially in the building. It just describes the basic area name or the grouping of the work we're going to be doing. And then when you get into the sub area, because we know there's electrical rooms from the lower level, the basement, all the way up to the roof, which would be floor 13, then we have to break down that sub area accordingly. This describes just basement through roof, so you have some guideline why there's those sub areas. And then each of those sub areas will always contain these tasks that they gave it. So each electrical room has these, whatever it is, 10, 11 tasks to complete it. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So then when we go back, I'll stop sharing my screen, bring up your spreadsheet.
Okay.
Right. So from what I just told you, you should be able to break down the area. So if it's level 6, rough and wall ceilings, then these won't be the tasks here because that was your trim, that was the deck work.
Here?
Yeah, I was just picking one like level 6 interior there. That would
This one.
be, yeah, the trim or the corridor, either one, trim, rough in. So your rough in for level 7, we could just take that right there, rough in. Um, go to your work breakdown structure.
I have it in common areas.
Okay. So in the common area, your rough in would be 240, cost code 240. There you go. It would be 320, 331,
Okay, wait.
3,
Here, right? In
yeah,
the level 6 corridor.
yeah, you could, yeah, level 6, fine, either one, yep.
So it is 5.
Well, that's trim there. So that level 6 corridor is trim. So you want to be rough in on level 6.
Okay, so
There you
here,
go. Yeah, up there. Right.
area, I have it in 2, but it's wrong. It's wrong, right?
Well, your deck work is, remember your decks are where it was actually saying, uh, you've got mostly, go to the schedule.
I'm looking for profit, right? Level 6.
Yeah, but you were talking about decks for a second. So if you go to, I don't see any deck work on your spreadsheet there. So when you go to deck work, scroll up in your schedule. Yeah, keep going. Let's see, Dorish. No, it's probably down a little bit.
Way out, coordination, construction.
Yeah, so keep going down. That's a site. Go down more. Right there. Whoop. FRP. You might have gone too far. It's where it said FRP. If you may just search FRP there. Oh, right about, I think that was it. So when that comes focused, I'll see.
It's too much results. Here?
Yep. So there's your deck. So that would be your deck breakdown for each floor. So you got FRP vertical 5, 6, 7, 8. Should go all the way to probably 12 at least.
Yes,
And then
and then south.
and then the roof. Yeah, so you got to add all those into your spreadsheet there, and that covers all your deck.
I need to add all of that here?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, if you're gonna, because that's how we're, yeah, because all you got there is roughing and trim. So
Yes.
right after your underslab MEP, at the very top, you'd probably be putting all the decks in there.
Okay.
So each one though, you have each one.
I'm gonna do it later.
Okay, and then those cost codes will apply to each one of those decks. So that one should be easy. You'll have those same cost codes for each deck.
Okay.
It's on the work breakdown structure. So whatever we had there for deck will be your cost codes. So yeah,
This
301.
this one.
Yep.
Okay.
And that should only be used for deck. Those cost codes shouldn't be used anywhere else but the deck work, starting at the basement.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
And then yeah, and just follow that trim and rough that we put those letters by for all the other cost codes for each. Whether it's trim or rough, it's going to be different.
Okay.
All right. Jorge, I got to jump on another call, but if you need to regroup, ring me